Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rules of Engagement. Of course, we just came off a weekend, a lot of cool games in GSTL Pro League, GSL, whatnot, but now we're back to the weekday schedule. That means at 5 p.m. Eastern is the winter exhibition matches. Following that, Rules of Engagement. And today on Rules of Engagement, we're going to be analyzing the MC versus MVP series from the MLG Winter Championships. This was a series that MC said was the actual finals of the tournament, and he said whoever won this would go on to win because they're the two best players, of course, teammates over at IM, well, MC's SK, but they're partnership formed there. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way. You can check out all the VODs at youtube.com/official MLGSC2. Today, of course, there was 4 games in that series played. We're going to take a look at the first 3 games from that series, game 1, 2, and 3. Then at the end is going to be the viewer Q&A. So submit your questions to me on Twitter at axslav. Tweet me your questions. I'll answer those at the end of the show. Also, remember to submit replays to majorleaguegaming.com/replays. As coming relatively soon, there's going to be a community critique section of Rules of Engagement where I analyze replays submitted to me on that website. It only takes a few seconds. majorleaguegaming.com/replays. All you have to do is there's like 2 drop-down menus, and you have to write like 2 sentences about what you thought was going on in the game and questions that you want to be gone over on the analysis. Jumping into game number 1 of MC versus MVP in the first match of the series, a couple things we're going to take a look at are the importance of scouting. Then we're going to talk about Oracle harass, and then we're going to talk about Terran expansion timing. So we'll jump into this replay at the 5-minute mark, and I really want to talk about the importance of scouting here. Right? So we see MC is using that first stalker to scout. He sees no expansion. And he's going to follow this up by using the mothership core and the secondary stalker to get high ground vision and see what's going on in the actual base of MVP. On the other hand, MVP did something where you hide an SCV in the corner of the map. Shortly after that 5-minute mark, you send that SCV into your opponent's expansion. The goal of this scouting is to see if they're playing one base or not. If by the 5:30 mark they do not have a Nexus, you know they're doing something off of one base. It looked like he intended to expand, but this Nexus would have already gone up at this moment in time, unless there's something like a DT, and then expansion, Stargate, then expansion, Gateway pressure, then expansion, something like that is going on. Of course, in this case, it is actually going to be the Stargate. MVP just knows there's some tech going on because of the expansion timing. MC now is going to come in here using that mothership core. He's going to be able to scout the exact build of MVP. He can tell it's okay, expansion into basically, it looks like the Marine Widowmine aggression builder. At the very least, it's 1-1-1 opening after expansion. Now going forward from here, the thing about this is just because you scout your opponent, right? He knows what MVP's doing. MVP knows there's some one base play coming out of MC with a later expansion. In fact, the expansion is being started now, but it's substantially later. Both players have scouting information, but remember that scouting is only as useful as a player's ability to adjust their play based on what has been scouted. So MVP should be adjusting his play to defend against an Oracle harass, a DT attack, or potentially a mass gateway attack. MC needs to adjust his play to be ready to receive a Widowmine drop, or theoretically maybe later down the road Banshees, but it's much more likely given the add-ons. There was one reactor already done and the factory was idle. Much more likely to be a Widowmine Marine drop play. So going forward here, we're now going to talk about the Oracle harass. So we can let's actually rewind this a tiny bit and see the Oracle coming in. And so if you're harassing with an Oracle, if you open a Stargate play, you're harassing with the Oracle, what you want to do first is try to get SCV kills. That's your first goal. You want to get in there and get as many SCVs as you can. So you're going to jump in here, keep an eye out for Widowmines. You can notice them, if a Widowmine's buried, you'll notice a little dark patch where it is. So keep an eye out. You do not want to run into Widowmine and kill some SCVs. A good opponent will react fairly quickly. You might get 3 kills, 4 kills, sometimes even 5. But the other thing, once you say, okay, there's no more SCVs, then the next thing you want to do is look. Yes, your Oracle's flying around the base, but instead of focusing on killing the units, you want to focus on keeping that Oracle alive now and identifying what they're doing, right? So a little bit of some MC's trying to pick off, get an extra hit or 2, but he needs to see exactly what's going on here from MVP. He can see the additional barracks being followed up. He can see double tech labs. And those tech labs will most likely, given the positioning, be switched onto the barracks. And because he knows his opponent spent time getting tech lab, that means there's not more Widowmines coming in. It also means that there hasn't been any units being produced because MVP's been busy building those add-ons. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a Terran expansion timing. So if you're a Terran player, remember he had that command center for quite a while, and he wants to move it down at some point to harvest minerals. The one thing you have to realize as a Terran player, if you're going to send a lot of your units out here to counterattack your opponent, right? To do a drop, to do a harassment, you're investing a lot of your army there. While it's still good, yes, you want to take this low ground expansion and you want to mine from it. It's very important that going forward, you don't commit your troops to defend this location, because there's two situations that could occur here, right? One, your opponent is back home and they're defending. And if your opponent is going to be back home and defending, then you're in a situation where all of a sudden your drop can't do too much damage. And it doesn't matter where your troops are because your opponent wasn't attacking you, right? So your troops can be in your main base, they can be your natural. It doesn't matter. If your opponent is concentrating on defending the drop, it doesn't matter where your troops at home are. The other option is your opponent is either counter-harassing you, or their whole army is going out to attack you. Now, look at what MVP has, right? In fact, we can actually move this down a little bit. Actually jump the screen down a little bit. MVP has exactly, we can see here, only a few Marines, right? He's only got 5 Marines. Now, if MC was doing like an expansion, probe cutting into 4 or 5 gate, 5 Marines here, these guys are actually, it looks like it's 7. Sorry, I miscounted. There's 2 more somewhere else. 7 Marines are not going to stop attacking the front door. If MC is going to commit a front attack, he cannot defend the low ground no matter what. So you should not have these Marines on low ground. You should have them on the high ground. If your opponent does a massive attack, you give up the low ground. Your counterattack, your drop over here, this drop here, if your opponent commits to an attack, this medevac is actually just going to totally kill your opponent. So all you have to do is stay alive. And if all you want to do is stay alive, you want to keep your troops up on the high ground. Now, if your opponent is harassing you, like with Oracles, again, you got to keep all your guys in one place. He doesn't have enough Marines to cover 2 bases. Again, you should keep your Marines in your main base and just run to SCVs from a natural. So either way, if you're going to do a mass harassment force like Wood Mine drop, the rest of your army should stay on the high ground. Maybe to prevent like one Stalker or Zelt from running in over to this bunker over here, you put 1 Marine in that bunker, but just 1. And the rest of your army you want to keep on the high ground so you don't lose the game against the front bus and so you can defend harassment. So it's good to move down, take your natural. But if your army is weak, you should not commit to defending that. So when MVP moves down here, it provides a great weakness, because MC could be attacking with 12 to 15 gateway units right now, and that would win him the game, because he killed the Marines and then you walk into base and you kill everything. And even if he was doing that, this medevac drop would do a lot of damage, but it wouldn't end the game, of course. The Widow Mines are great at doing damage. You're not great at ending the game. So much better to keep units on defense. The other situation is right here. MC's attacking, right? And without the Marines here, these Oracles are doing massive damage to SCV line. SCVs are running back and forth. One Oracle has 8 kills, the other one has 4. MC, on the other hand, he knew that a drop was coming, so what did he do? He has no probes at his natural, because he says, you know what, I can't defend both bases. I know that both my opponent and I are doing harass builds. If you're both doing harass builds, your defending army is small, so you need to concentrate it at a single base. That's what MC does. Everything's here in the main. And with this amount of units here in the main, and the Phoenix is there as well, of course, this drop gets just annihilated, right? It doesn't do anything. There's too many Protoss units here. On the other hand, these Oracles, they don't get annihilated. They're up to, in fact, if you look at this, 10 workers killed, 27 units killed. This Oracle is having a field day with 10 kills already, and this is the point where the game's over, right? If you look at the supply counts, we can see here at the top right, it's 28 supply to 57 in MC's favor. MC is significantly ahead, and the reason why I got so far ahead isn't because Oracle is OP. It's because he knew that both players are doing harassing build, because that's what his scouting told him. Both players are harassing. If both players are committing a significant amount of resources to harassing build, a medevac full units, multiple Oracles, that's a pretty big commitment. It's very, very hard to cover both their bases. Just focus on defending the main. Your Nexus or your command center isn't going to die. Just don't mine from it. Let it sit there. Maybe mine with 1 or 2 workers, but nothing that you're not willing to lose. MVP, he tried to spread his Marines in between his main and his natural, and of course that meant he didn't have enough to defend either one. Oracles came in there, killed a lot of the Marines, and then went on to win MC the game. So remember, if you and your opponent are doing harassing build, focus your defense on one section until your economy and your production kicks into the point you can defend both. MC realized that rule, and he was able to win that game number 1 with some great Oracle harass, as well as defense from the Widow Mine drop. This wraps up game number 1. We'll take a short break and move on to game number 2.